This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Before we start the show, we want to let you know about our 2021 listener survey. This is where you can let us know your feedback and your thoughts about the show so that way we can make it better for you. And as a bonus, and I thank you for taking the survey, we are giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. One lucky winner will be drawn, so all you have to do is take the survey and leave us your email address. Thank you so much for your support, and to take the survey, go to rotoscopers.com/2021 survey. Now, on to the show. You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast, episode 220, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Pink Dolphins for the win. Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode. Hey there, animation addicts. I'm your host, Morgan Stradling.
And I am Chelsea Robson.
And Chelsea, I messed up.
What'd you do?
Remember last episode when I was talking about our 2021 listener survey and I was all excited. I got everything ready and I said, go take the survey, go to our link.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, turns out I made the link on my personal website. So if you went to morganstradling.com/2021 survey, it would go to the survey. But if you went to rotoscopers.com/2021, it went nowhere. And I am so sorry because I know that a lot of you went there and you were ready to take it because I know once I switched the link and I updated it, within a few hours, 4 people had already clicked the link. So I feel bad because it went a whole entire week of people being like, yes, I want to take this survey. I want to enter to win the gift card. And
you lied to me?
I lied to you unintentionally. And I feel so bad about it. So I am very sorry, guys. But as of right now, if you go to rotoscopers.com/2021 survey, that's where you can take that quick 5-minute survey. It gives us some feedback about you and the show and what you like and what you don't like. And ultimately, we're going to take that and make a better listening experience for you. So we are really grateful. So if you haven't done it already or you tried and you're like, what are these Rotoscopers girls talking about? There's nothing there. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Do it again. Thank you.
And we're back.
So with that, let's jump into the main event, shall we?
Okay, let's do this.
Before we get started, I want to give some basic information. We are talking about, I haven't even mentioned what our episode is going to be.
I mean, if they clicked on it, they
Yeah.
probably know
Yes.
that this is going to be about how to train your dragon.
If for
3.
some reason you missed the first minute of the show, you just randomly clicked on an episode and you're just going in blind, well, welcome to today's episode because we are doing How to Train Your Dragon 3. We are finishing up the trilogy, the epic adventure, with the final one.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Take your plans out of the group chat and get long weekend ready in new Abercrombie. From day to night, pack new outfits for every part of your itinerary. Grabbing brunch? Throw on the A&F Mila dress. Then head to your dinner reservation in their new bubble hem mini dress. And yes, permission to overpack for pics with the girls. Abercrombie's best-selling Scarlet Squirt deserves a post in your feed. Your plans are worth it. Shop Abercrombie's new long weekend collection online or in store.
So let me give you some basic information about this before we get started and dive into our discussion. The studio was DreamWorks Animation Studios. The director was Dean DeBlois. DeBlois. I do not speak French, and I really need to get better at that. The release date, February 22nd, 2019. The budget was $129 million. Pretty standard stuff for DreamWorks at the time. And the box office, it did $525.7 million worldwide. So $500 million, not too shabby. So I wanted to compare this to how the other films had done. So in 2010, that's when the first film came out, it did $494.9 million. Barely under the $500 million mark. 2014, the second movie came out, it did $621.5 million. And rounding out the third was the $525.7 million. So this one definitely did $100 million less, but nonetheless, they kind of are all in the same ballpark. I'm actually shocked that the third one didn't do any better, so I'm interested maybe the marketing didn't hit, but and there was 4 years between the first one and the second one, and 5 years between the second one and the third one. So it kind of made me think about, is there a sweet spot for releasing a sequel? You know, there's been lots over the years that have been released. You know, I think of Frozen and Frozen 2. That was 5 years between those films. The second and third one of the How to Train Your Dragon series, that was 5 years. So I'm thinking kind of like this 4 to 5 year is like the sweet spot nowadays. But then again, we have the Addams Family, which came out in 2019, and the sequel's already coming out in 2021. So I don't know. Is there too long to release your sequel where people ultimately just don't care anymore and the hype is gone?
It depends on the first and the second movies.
Oh, like, not that cop-out answer of it depends.
No, but it does. if you're looking at like The Incredibles versus Incredibles 2, you waited a lot longer to be able to get True. Incredibles 2. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it made more money than the original.
Yeah, it's one of the top animated films of all time. Which I still don't quite get, but I think it goes to the point that people were just chomping at the bit to see The Incredibles back together.
Yes. And it also opens up another discussion as far as the trilogies that DreamWorks has put out versus something that maybe Pixar or Disney would put out, mostly on the Pixar side, especially if you're looking at like comparing this to maybe Toy Story.
Yeah,
and
I pulled
the
up Toy Story
trilogy
just now. So Toy Story did the original $373 million. Toy Story 2, $497.4 million, just under $500 million. Toy Story 3, $1.067 billion. So boop, boop, it doubled what it did from 2 to 3.
And number 4 did 1.073 billion. So basically nearly exactly the same as the third. But at this point, you know, in 2018 when that came out, it's been around for 20 years. It's such a staple. And they've proven with 1, 2, and 3, this is good. We love these characters. You grew up with these characters. You're showing your kids these movies.
I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that DreamWorks has never really found its thing.
What about Shrek? Let me pull up Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek would be the only.
And Shrek just dominated the entire time. So here's Shrek for you. 487.9 million for number 1, 919.8 million for number 2, number 3, 813.4 million, and Shrek Forever After. It's not called Shrek 4. $752.6 million, which is crazy because Shrek, I guess of all of the DreamWorks franchises, Shrek is the heavy hitter.
Yeah.
You know, and the first one did amazing. The second one nearly topped that $1 billion mark. And then 3 and 4 just weren't quite there. But still, they've done all of these, except for maybe the first one, have done better than the How to Train Your Dragon series.
Yeah. And as a series, I think I really liked Shrek 1 and Shrek 2. 3 and 4, not my thing. But
yes, we did a review on the third, and we still did that. One day we'll get to 4.
Maybe. But I think that if I'm looking at as a series, How to Train Your Dragon is definitely elevated and better. When I think about the plots of each of these movies, it takes me a while to remember all that happened. And there isn't like a big thing that like jumps out at me of like, oh yeah, that's where this like got to me, and I remember the whole plot of this movie. And I'm not sure if that's just because like maybe they were trying to do too much, like they really wanted it to be this like a revamp of the DreamWorks identity, but instead it just feels more like a really great, beautiful hangout movie. And not one that I'm necessarily like into. I'm saying like not to the extent as like when I go back and rewatch Toy Story 3, I'm into it at a very different level than what I am with these.
Yeah.
So I think there is, it does have something to say with, as we go through, I'm going to point out a couple things that I feel like they didn't really define the stakes very well with this one. I feel like the metaphors and like the themes kind of are a little too different, that don't really hit home as much as something so tangible as like giving up your first toy, you know? And for example, metaphorically, I feel like
metaphorically speaking, name that quote.
Well, yeah. Oh, what is it?
It's from The Mask. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking. That is quotes right. no one gets anymore, but I do. Okay, I say them.
Oh, Ben Stein. He's so great. I love Ben Stein so much. Okay, but yeah, like basically like this installment says that Hiccup needs to learn his own identity entirely separate from Toothless and not dependent on who he is with Toothless as his friend and his helper. But also it feels like this movie, it's saying that in order to grow up, you have to like let go of your pets, which I don't think is the same
like a
as
best friend.
Yeah, but it doesn't come across that way. It's like as I'm recording this podcast, I have my dog, like she's like sitting at literally on my feet right now because she's super needy for some reason. I haven't figured out why, but like she's right here. And I don't think in order to grow up, I have to get rid of her. And even though she's like one of my best friends because she's my buddy, my pal, hangs out with me all day. So I feel like the metaphor doesn't hit home as well.
Yeah.
But I also see that they weren't necessarily trying to say that, but it kind of feels like they were. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So going back to the sequels are 5 years too long, I feel like the reason why this one didn't hit as hard maybe was because after the second one, was it the fact that they killed off his dad? I don't know.
Yeah, they killed off the dad and they kept trying to harken back to the dad, and it just really didn't hit for me. It was like, oh, yay, there he is, and there were all these lessons. But to be honest, it didn't quite feel like Stoic the Vast, because in the first movie, Stoic essentially doesn't love Hiccup because he's not a Viking. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this is before he realized that Hiccup was totally worthless as a Viking as far as his standards of being a Viking were, right? He was still little. He's maybe like 5 or 6 years old, and he's being cute and he's being sweet with him. And that's more of the Stoic that we get in the second movie. And so it just kind of didn't feel right to me. That's being so sad and a little bit cynical, but it just was like, oh, okay, cool flashback. But I didn't feel those moments like I think I was supposed to.
Yeah. And I think that could have been a difference, because when you look at the first one, most people were, I remember when it came out and everyone was talking about it. Everyone said, oh my gosh, have you seen this movie? It's so much fun. Oh my gosh, have you seen this movie? And that was one of the reasons why a lot of people, I remember telling you about it because you were like, oh, what movie should I watch? And I'm like, well, a lot of people have been talking about this movie, and I hadn't had time to go see it at the time, but
other people say it's cool.
Yeah, other people were saying this is really cool, which also leads more people to go back on repeat visits. So you see this more and more times in the theaters because more and more people, you've told them about this movie. Therefore, if they're going to go see it, well, I should go with you too. If I'm really willing to put my stamp of approval on this, I should be willing to pay it to go see it again. Right. And I think that's kind of what happened with number 2 as well. But I think with number 3, it was just that the repeat business didn't hit home enough.
Yeah. So let's talk about the plot. Just high level, what's happening here?
All right. First bits. Hiccup. It's been a year since number 2. So he's been hanging out with his mom for a year. Astrid's there. Everyone's hunky-dory. And you look at Burke, and Burke is just this thriving, strange metropolis that has a mixture of dragons and... I mean, it almost looks like a Dr. Seuss land plus dragons. So...
Yeah, the place is infested. You can't even walk or fly without tripping over one.
Yeah. And this is now the hideaway and the mecca for all dragons. And
it's a sanctuary state, basically.
Yeah, it is. So at this point in time, they're traveling around. Hiccup is once again building this map. And this has been something that he was doing since number 2 as well. So number 2, it was more of like just trying to be an adventurer. But number 3, he has this flashback of saying, oh, I must find the hidden dragon world or the hidden world. And so enter that plot point. And then the next plot point is that, oh, Astrid and I should be getting married, but we're not. Okay. Just because Astrid's like, nah, I'm not ready for that yet.
We still got a whole movie to get through.
Right, exactly. And it kind of starts out the same way as it did in number 2, but just a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, their relationship is kind of the same, but just maybe been dating. Like it's been a year, but it didn't feel like they had leaps and bounds in their relationship.
Yeah.
And I still don't feel their relationship very well. It's there.
I think I did more in the second one than I did the third.
It's not passionate, not saying that it has to be, but it's not really romantic. It's just like, oh yeah, we got together and now we're here and we're like a plot point.
Right.
I remember my predictions for the film.
Yes, let's go through that.
Okay, so they're going to get in a fight and, she's going to get mad at him and they'll reconcile at the end. That did not happen. Okay.
Correct.
This is Burke. We have dragons. Intro, outro.
Got that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toothless and the girl have Lady and a Tramp-esque babies. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
In exactly the way you thought it would be.
Yes. I mean, that is the,
one
that
black,
is the...
one white, and one cow. Cow print.
Yep. Things I didn't predict. The Pinto. Yes. Things I did not predict. A wedding. I didn't call that. I did not think they were going to get married at the end. Or did I?
You said, I don't think there will be, but I would be happily surprised if they did.
Them having kids, I did not think we were going to go that far down the road. I did not predict that his beard would get even more wild. Toothless leaving. Didn't see that coming. I thought that was going to be more of an Astrid thing. All the dragons leave forever at the end. Did not see that one coming.
Right.
And they meet again at the end, meaning Toothless and Hiccup. They reunite after their time apart. So half and half, you're right. You're like, yep, there's some things you definitely got right and some things that you were totally off. But I think the important one and the easiest one to predict was this is Burke intro outro, and the Toothless and Girl Toothless have babies. I mean, the love story, speaking of Hiccup and Astrid, the love story was the dragons, because even on the poster, it's the two of them. It's like, oh, another one like me. I'm not the only one. And so you didn't have to know that was a girl dragon to know that was a girl dragon, right?
Right.
And even with the poster, not even looking at the trailers. So, okay, there's a boy dragon and a girl dragon. You're the only ones left of your species. What is the next obvious thing to do to propagate?
Right, exactly. I mean, I like the fact that, number 2 is more Hiccup coming into his own and being the chief. And then this one is more Toothless coming into his own and becoming the alpha. Mm-hmm. Even though they both became alpha, but this is like Toothless has to go away and create his own like community, which, okay, I guess that's what we're going with. Because I think the reason why they did it that way
overpopulation in Burke.
This is a true thing.
Thanos isn't around, so and no one wants that. That's evil. So,
oh gosh,
we gotta. The world is a very, very, very big place. So dragons, sayonara.
You go find your own world,
America, the hidden world. Yes.
Every time that they kept saying, like, we got to find that hidden world, and I'm like, the Americas. It was interesting that instead of all of the major twists and turning plot points revolved around Toothless rather than Hiccup, which is, a bit different, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's go in a little deeper, like other things that we liked and didn't like about this movie. I think the other major issue that happened with this movie was the fact that I don't know why, like, these dragon catchers are all out for them. In the second one, Eret, son of Eret, he says, "Oh well, we got to get our money from Drago," which also I didn't mention, but it's like, where does Drago get this currency? Like, what currency are they going off of that? Like, I don't understand this whole thing.
It's just Viking money, yo.
They're just like, we'll just print a little bit more.
It's just gold.
So anyway, he's trading money for these dragons, and apparently it is just so that he can amass this giant dragon army alongside his own human army so that he can like rule the world. Well, why is everybody else trying to do that same thing? I don't understand. Like, but it seems like they're mostly just trying to kill them. But if they're all going to go and hang out at Burke, do we really have the issue of having to kill the dragons because they're not really doing anything? And now is it just more for sport?
Well, I mean, looking at the dragon scales, and it's just like animals, you can use them for their meat, or you can use them for their pelts or their fur or their skins. So I'm kind of, thinking that there's some sort of monetary value to the dead carcass and body parts.
I mean,
in Harry Potter lore and in other fantasy, dragon, you can use the dragon scales for potions. You can use dragon teeth for things. If you're playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can use it to upgrade your armor, whether that's a dragon claw, dragon scale, a dragon tooth. So there are plenty of uses for dragons, Chelsea. You're just not in the know.
That's true. Because Burke doesn't utilize that except for their dragon scales, which are said that they shed a lot. That's an easy way of like, hey, we're not killing them for anything. We're just using what they already shed. Which, by the way, the entrance of Hiccup and Toothless at the very beginning through the fire is probably the coolest shot not in the whole movie, but like in my levels of like the coolest shots in this film, it's definitely one of them. I thought that was awesome.
Nice.
Just looks so cool. Grimmel, his whole thing is like, I have killed all of the Night Furies and I have to kill them all. Like, why? Like, what is your reasoning?
He's a completionist for some reason.
I guess.
He needs to get the job done. Unlike Pokemon, where you need to complete your dex, which is, capturing one of every single Pokemon to complete your Pokedex, he's just trying to capture one and destroy only one Pokemon. Clearly, he doesn't care for the other dragons as well. But in this thing, he's just, I don't know. He wants to be the guy that eradicates dragons and makes them the way of the dodo. I'm not so sure. But that's his goal in life. And maybe it's just like this badge of honor because the Night Fury are so fast. You know, you think of the first movie. I did watch the first one with my kids recently. And it's just so cool the way that they tease the Night Fury and Toothless and how fast he is and stealthy. And no one's ever seen it. It's supposed to be this almost legendary creature. And so it definitely is like a badge of honor and pride that, hey, here's this thing that no one has even seen. And by the way, I've killed them all. Why? Unclear. Why does he need to do that? We're not sure, but he wants to do it and he needs to check it off his list. And he has the girl, right? And he's using, and her name is a Light Fury, which I'm like, she's supposed to be like a different species, but I'm like, are you a different species or you just have different coloration? Because I feel like she's the same. She's a Night Fury.
Right. And they have the same powers.
Yeah. There was
she's teaching
difference.
him.
I mean, I guess there's different like types of dolphins that are different colors and whatnot. But speaking of different colored dolphins, the pink dolphins are bomb. They are so cool. They eat that shrimp and it turns them pink. It's just the coolest thing ever. You are what you eat.
It's one of the greatest tangents, but yes, I totally agree. Pink dolphins for the win. I think that's my main issue with it doesn't like grab me enough because the guy is just evil. And I mean, I guess that is something we also
evil
learn
for the sake of being evil. And he has really nothing. The only stakes are and that connects him to Hiccup is that he wants Hiccup's dragon and to kill him.
Yeah, he's not consistent because he also has these other dragons that have this poison that is able to basically, instead of being the alpha in order to control another dragon, they just,
drunk them up.
Yeah. So it's like he's not consistent in the fact that he hates all dragons. It's really just like, I just want to be that completionist of like, I started this goal and I'm going to finish it just for the sake of being evil. And I mean, okay, if that's your story, then okay, but it just doesn't seem real in that sense. Like, I don't understand this person or his reasonings other than just like, he's gonna kill him. Okay. So, I mean, maybe that's one of my reasons why this one I don't think levels up to even what the second one was. Because with Drago, his whole persona just seemed a lot more of I can see that. You want to just amass this giant army and be the dragon master. Okay.
To be a master, dragon master. Chelsea doesn't know this song.
Don't.
This is a song from one of the Pokemon movies called the number 2, the letter B, a master. This was the time in the early 2000s when it was really cool to use numbers and letters to represent words because that's what you did on instant messenger and early texting. To save time, we'd use the number 4 and the number 2 and the letter B.
Early texting. Oh gosh. BRB.
Yes. Well, those have still stuck around.
We still use them, but it's just funny.
It's like we now realize it's really dumb to just use the number 4 instead of just typing out FOR. It just makes you look old. Because occasionally there are still people that do that, and you're just like, oh, honey. And I think with iPhones and Android phones, they've kind of made it easier to just type out the word because you have a whole full keyboard in front of you, where before you had to tap the button 4 different times to get to the letter you needed to get to.
Exactly.
It was hard.
Exactly.
It was hard back in the day.
We have come so far.
All right. So let's talk about Light Fury because she was interesting, and we didn't ever get a name for her. They just called her Light Fury. And
that's even just Astrid's name,
right?
Like, Astrid was just the one that's like, oh, it's a Light Fury instead. Oh, and he's like, yeah, your name is a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. But I would have liked her to have had some sort of name that matched. But that's cool. So Light Fury, as soon as I saw her, I thought of the quote, "She's a girl, of course." Wait, I gotta do the.
A girl?
A girl? Of course she's a girl. Man, I can't do that quote at all. Can you name that quote with my horrible?
Is it Cogsworth?
Yes, it's Cogsworth and Lumiere.
Okay. It's a girl.
There you go.
I know it's a girl. I think that's what it is.
Yes, it is. Much better. Thank you for saving me in this. But yeah, I thought that was great. And then also, Toothless in love, he's so Twitter-pated. He's obsessed with her. And it just reminded me of the other quote, Ariel, in love.
Yeah. Well, and that was also an interesting moment. They recognized something about Astrid because she's like, "Aw, he's in love. That's so sweet." And Hiccup's like, "I didn't catch you as like the romantic type, like at all. Like you're not that way."
Again, this is just a relationship of convenience. It doesn't seem like they care. Like he's saying this, like, "I didn't think you were a romantic type." What does that tell you about their relationship? Not good.
There's a closeness between them, and they show that as far as like she's, has no physical boundaries with him. So there is a closeness, and so I don't think that it's that. I think it's just more of like less. She just doesn't like push that. I don't know. I don't think that's bad that she's not that way, but it's just different, than what you would expect in a film to show that they are close. And then it gets into this whole part of where Toothless now has to earn the love of this other dragon.
Yeah, basically this mating ritual, this courting thing where he's having to just do this bizarre dragon dance. Like Toothless is not a ladies' man, and I get it. I mean, it's not that he's been around other dragons before, but clearly they're not his type, so he's never had to turn on the charm. But why is Hiccup having to coach him on this? Like he's showing him like, "Oh, do this, this, and this." Shouldn't this just be it naturally in his nature and DNA? I was like, I don't get it.
I guess, yeah, it does go against like the natural of like, you shouldn't need this. Like you're totally different, like species. So you wouldn't know what this girl would like to see versus what you're, doing. But I think also it wanted to show that Hiccup was the wingman this time, as opposed to like he's taking the backseat in the story sense, and he's trying to help him in any way. Like he's like, "Oh, my friend has a goal, so I need," but he thinks, "Oh, well, she'll just come and join us and everything will be hunky dory and we'll all live happily ever after together." And that's obviously where he went wrong, because she was like, the Light Fury is like, they're not my type. It's like if somebody marries somebody else and they don't like the family that the other person comes from, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna move away." It's like, oh.
Yeah, we can't handle confrontation, and we just don't. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. So see you later. Bye.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what her whole situation was. She's like, I don't like that. I don't like your family, so I'm gonna have us move away. So, it sucks to be you.
Yeah. So then they eventually get together. They do this dragon flight scene, and I want someone do this for me. Put it on YouTube. Erase the music, which the score on all of these films have been great. I think they've done a really great of carrying the themes throughout. It was the same composer for all, but erase the score, scratch that, and just put A Whole New World over this during that. I need that. Yep. And apparently as they were, just like A Whole New World, where they're traveling the world, they go and they visit Pandora at one point, which is from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're here. We've arrived. Disney DreamWorks crossover.
Love it. The other interesting thing is like the human friends. They all have a very different I don't know. They all have their little arcs, but that don't really go anywhere other than, Rough Nut decides on the guy that she likes in a way. But yeah, as we mentioned before, TJ Miller decides not to come back or gets kicked out. I don't think he would get kicked. He probably was just asking for too much, and they're like, no.
Actually, TJ Miller was in some sort of scandal and he got arrested. And so he'd already recorded all of his lines, and DreamWorks decided that there was just too much bad press with him, and that they just kicked him from the role and they found someone else, which is like,
interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, spill the tea.
Yeah, it happened. Which I hadn't followed TJ Miller, since all I really knew him for is he played Fred in Big Hero 6, but I hadn't followed his life since. So yeah, apparently it's not really gone up. But someone else got the gig.
Yay, them.
But it's obvious that it's not him, but that's cool. Okay.
Okay. What was super weird is that the other guy, instead of going after Rough Nut, he's moved his sights onto Hiccup's mom, which is like, okay. But what was even weirder is that she didn't discourage him in it. She just kind of was like, whatever. And even kind of almost encouraged it in a way. And it was just like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that was Snoutlot.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Valka, she's there. To be honest, I was actually kind of surprised that she was here in this movie because I kind of figured that she was just going to Jane Goodall it up and go away. But
I mean, all of the dragons joined Burke, though. So.
I know, but I guess I didn't really make that connection at the end. It was like, oh, they're all there. But I kind of just assumed that she was going to, I don't know. I never felt that she was committed to really be in there. But yeah, so she's there. But I don't know. She was just she didn't really have a big part to play. Or did I miss that?
She didn't. I mean, she had her her wise words that she would give.
Yes,
and
I'm the stand-in for Stoic right now.
Right. There was one line that she gave where she said, he only had his father to watch who had to lead alone, which is partly my fault. Which is like, well, I would say that's all your fault. But okay. And so that's why he's going to Astrid. She's going to Astrid saying, Astrid, go help him. Go encourage him. She's like, I've always encouraged him. What is he doing?
Yes.
In the great Astrid way. It's just weird how the whole time you had Tough Nut trying to encourage Hiccup into how to get a girl. And it's like, dude, what girl do you have?
Right.
She's literally the only other girl other than your sister. So why are you trying to help this? It's like, okay. But there was a moment where they're going, and it's like, oh man, it's like because now they have to find a new world or a new home because all of the dragon catchers are now coming toward them and saying, we're going to kill the dragons, kill the beast. So now Hiccup has to find a new place for them to live. And so they go and find this giant island that's really high off the water. So please don't fall off the edge of the earth in that point. And they are setting it all up there. But during this whole time, that's really the only change that any of the other people go through is now we have to change our location and move somewhere else where we don't have dragon stuff everywhere. I mean, it made sense. It was just kind of like, here's step number 2, turn the page.
Yep. Yeah. So speaking of this, how these 3 movies came together, these were always intended to be a trilogy. There are multiple books in this series, and so they kind of knew the first few books in the series would be these first 3 movies, and they made number 2 knowing that there were certain things that weren't going to be tied up, and they would be tied up in 3. And so that kind of was encouraging because it seems like sometimes, hey, we have this one-off movie, we'll see how it does. Oh, it's great. Okay, we're doing a sequel. That one does great. Let's do a third. And sometimes by the time you get to the third one, it feels really just underwhelming. But surprisingly, I kind of felt that way with this. This one, it had source material from the beginning. So you think for that reason alone, it'd be very strong. But this one just kind of fell flat in a way. It was good, but I would never go back and watch this one again over some of the other ones.
Yeah. I mean, I liked The Light Fury, and I thought it was beautiful. There's so many parts of this it's an epically beautiful film. And especially when they actually find the dragon world and they go down in there, and Ashton's like, wow, now that's a king. Right. It goes like, okay.
But they also did find another dragon world in the second movie.
Yes. So they keep finding all these dragon worlds, but they keep talking about how, the dragons, we don't deserve them, and greedy humans always find a way. I'm just like, oh gosh. first off, anytime somebody ever says like, oh, greedy humans or humans are the bad guy or anything, and I'm just like, that's internalized propaganda if you believe that. We have choices. People make bad choices, yes, but people also make really good choices. This is hence why we have Burke. So it's like, yeah.
Money is a tool. The love of money is the root of all evil, not money.
Yes.
Money is a tool. You can use it for good. You can use it for bad. It has been done for both.
This is true. So through this whole ending sequence, or his ending monologue, he's just like, one day we will deserve them and one day we will find them again. And I feel like it's just a weird premise that...
Well, yeah, it's because they left on purpose. It wasn't like they were escaping. It wasn't like they were lost. They were escaping in a way, but it's not like they were lost. They just had to go because it wasn't safe anymore. Like one day we'll find them again. And then, cut to the end. They're married. We see that. Cut even further. They have kids. They're riding on a boat. He's going to find him. It kind of reminded me of the end. There's been some Pirates of the Caribbean analogies we've talked about here, but Pirates of the Caribbean, the third one, where at the very end of the movie, Elizabeth Swann is waiting, and then you see the flash of green light showing that Will Turner has come back again. She's excited. It's kind of gave me similar vibes where they're been apart for so many years, and then boom, they see each other and they're excited, and come the babies and everything that entails, and it's just kind of like, well, one, I had these questions of, well, okay, now Toothless can fly on his own, and so what would happen if he needed a tail repair? If something happened to his tail, he's done for, and so that could be potentially a fourth, whereas where the Light Fury comes back and he's injured, but they kind of spoiled it. They've already reunited, but that could be the fourth one where she would have come back and Toothless is hurt and they need him to come back, and then it opens up some other plot point. I think that'd be kind of cool, but maybe he has his own like self-service kit where he can fix it himself.
That was like, I'm very impressed with your handiwork here. If you're able to, make this, appendable limb, be able to last for this many years, like,
right.
Good on you.
Very high, very quality craftsmanship. I did like that he was able to, in this movie, they were able to kind of separate themselves where he was no longer dependent on Hiccup. I did like that he was able to be autonomous and fly on his own again because, in the first one, that was so crucial. They needed each other. But yeah, it's kind of one of the themes is that, you need to live your own life. You need to do your own thing. And even though he was handicapped in a way, he was able to evolve and grow, and he didn't need his crutch, which was Toothless, or which was Hiccup. Hiccup couldn't, he couldn't fly without Hiccup, but he wanted to and he needed to. And there were times where there were literally things he couldn't do without Hiccup. Like he couldn't court the girl with Hiccup there. That's not cool. Yeah. No one likes a third wheel. So
ain't that the truth?
So
I do appreciate how Hiccup went full Jake Gyllenhaal at the end of the movie. Like, if anybody else didn't see that, I'm like, I don't know what you're not seeing, because this is full Jake Gyllenhaal right here.
Yep.
It also is an interesting side story. As you know, my dad had cancer like 20 years ago, and he had to have his elbow replaced. So in his arm, he's got, it's Bionic Man. But the elbow, because they don't replace elbows all that often, it's one of those, like, they'll do hips and they'll do shoulders all the time, but elbow's not something that they really do. Because of that, the prosthetic that they put inside wasn't really like doing very well. So every time it would break inside of him. And it every time it would break, which was like 6 or 7 times, they would have to go in and take everything apart, move away the muscles to put them back and all these things, and redo it every single time. Oh yeah. It was a lot of years of a lot of crap, stuff like that. Until my dad, being the cowboy welder guy that he is, he looks at the prosthetic that they had been putting in, and he was like, you're doing it all wrong. You have to go in, you have to make this like this and this like this. And he basically designed the prosthetic thing that's inside his arm now. And yeah, they don't give him credit though. But yeah, that's what I mean. A good handyman is really underappreciated these days. And so the fact that Hiccup was able to do that for for Toothless is pretty impressive.
No, yeah, I think
just
that's one of the greatest parts about Hiccup is that, you know, he in the first movie, he discovers this problem. He has these talents. He's a builder. He's an inventor, and he goes and he builds it. And it didn't work. And he tries again. He goes back to the drawing board. It doesn't work. And he goes back and he tries again. And in this movie, we continue to see him trying that and going back. And she even says, like, you tried that before. It didn't work, you know, and he doesn't give up. So I like that. I like that. So, okay, before we do our final review, we have a Roto Nation question.
Ooh.
So the question that we asked the patrons was How to Train Your Dragon 3 a satisfying conclusion to the How to Train Your Dragon franchise? Chad said, honestly, not really. I feel like the story was a rehashing a bit of How to Train Your Dragon 2, and also the more cliche elements of the storytelling wrap-ups. Josella says, I thought it was a satisfying conclusion. I cried at the end. Lauren says, yes, it definitely was. I saw it 8 times in theaters and I loved it just as much every time. Wow. 8 times. That is amazing. I think that is the winner for most times seeing this movie. All right. So let's rate this movie. Chelsea, what would you rate it?
I give this movie 3 stars. It hits a lot of really great points, and it hits a lot of satisfying ending points. But I felt like, as we've talked about, there were a lot of things that just didn't make it level up. Will I watch this ever again? Probably. Is this something that I really feel the desire to go back and watch again anytime soon? Not really. Even having watched it like a week ago when we were preparing for this, like I was even having a hard time remembering what happened in it. So I think that it goes to show that it's not as powerful to me as some of the other films. But I did enjoy the time watching it. I thought it was beautifully done and just a gorgeous time to just sit back and let it go over you.
Likewise, I give it 3 stars. It was okay. And frankly, I was a little bit bored during some of the parts. There were things that I enjoyed. I really liked the Light Fury. I thought that was the most exciting part of the film. But then it just kind of dies off a little bit. And, you know, once that's established, we move on to other things. Grimmel, the bad guy, I didn't say this, but he's basically like if Dracula and Jack Frost had a baby and you have albino Dracula man, you know, he talks like a thespian. He's so over the top. It's kind of ridiculous in a way, but I guess it works. And, you know, hey, another bad guy who's going to kill dragons. Okay, great. You know, and the dragons are
never trust a potions master.
Yes. Yes. Dragons are unique to Berk. And so, of course, there's always going to be something that's going to be a threat to the dragons. But again, it just kind of felt it's been there, done that. We've seen this before. We've done it. I think even if we just would have had 2 movies and stopped there, it would have been a little bit more satisfying. I think with the villain, with just him being yet again another Drogo or another dragon killer, it just didn't really land for me.
All right, we want to know what you guys thought about this movie. Make sure to head on over to rotoscopers.com/Instagram to be able to check out our Instagram post. Let us know what you thought. We like hearing from you. And also, if you want to send in a voicemail, go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails or dial 406-646-6575. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I think in the future, we're going to do a voicemail only show. So you can send us voicemails on any topic relating to animation or some of the studios. So start sending those in. And once we have enough, we are going to do a voicemail mailbag segment for a nerdy couch discussion. So I'm really excited to do that. So send in your voicemails today.
Let's do it.
And our next episode is going to be a nerdy couch discussion. We are going to be talking about our favorite filler songs. Talk about nerdy and talk about a nerdy couch discussion. We're going down that rabbit hole. We all love our animated musicals and the songs, but there are some songs that are fillers. And so Chelsea and I deep dive into that in the next episode. So subscribe and stay tuned. That's all we have for today. Until next time,
we are the Rotoscopers. You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast, episode 220, How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. Insert something funny here. All right. I am recording.
I am recording today, day. All right. We don't have a lot of time, so no pre-show.
Let's do it. No pre-show for you. All right.
Is your audio like good for you? Because it's not great for me, but as long as your side is good.
Well, I'm recording it directly to Pro Tools.
Whatever you're using on Zoom is like a computer mic or something.
Yeah, it's probably coming from my headset.
Okay.
I can switch that if you prefer.
Be easier on the ears.
Got it. Audio. Microphone. You. Does that sound better?
Goodness. Wow. Yes. That was good. Okay. You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news,